30 years from now, people who bought high-rise apartments will realize they were the biggest fools. They traded 30 years of their life and the savings of 3 generations for a place that ends up being worth almost nothing. That's the future of high-rise housing in China, and honestly, the outcome was set from the start. We were late to urban development, and most ordinary people didn't really understand what was going on. So when the real estate boom came, everyone rushed to buy high-rise homes. But looking back, it was like walking straight into a trap. There's a fatal flaw in high-rise housing, one that guarantees things won't end well. The people selling the land won't tell you, developers definitely won't tell you. So what's the issue? One simple thing: in the future, no one will want to buy them. In recent years, as more people have moved into cities in China, high-rise buildings have been popping up everywhere to meet the growing demand for housing. This is especially true in big cities where space is limited and land is expensive. So building upward became the go-to solution, and city skylines just kept getting taller. But now some problems are starting to show. Experts say that these tall buildings don't increase much in value over time, but they're expensive to maintain. Some even worry that they could turn into slums in the sky one day. And in places like Shenzhen, we're already seeing early signs of that. Let's take a closer look at what's really going on with these high-rise slums. But before we do, we would like to invite you to subscribe. Your support is our greatest motivation and allows us to bring you more valuable content. Now, moving on. Believe it or not, right on the border of Shenzhen and Dongguan, there's a place that looks like a real-life high-rise slum. It's an old apartment complex in Dongguan, built in 1993. That's just over 30 years ago, but the building already looks run down and falling apart. Many people couldn't stand the bad living conditions and moved out long ago. When you walk through this area, it feels old, broken, and depressing, almost like a slum. It really makes you wonder, what will today's super tall buildings look like in 30 years? According to data, there were over 30,000 fires reported in high-rise buildings across China over the past 10 years. A lot of those were caused by elevator problems like overloading, old equipment, or poor maintenance. Many Chinese families spend everything they have, even savings from 2 generations, just to buy one home. They hope to finish paying the loan in 30 years and finally relax. But sadly, the apartment might just become a high-rise slum because in the future, no one may want to live there. One blogger, Xinge, says the first wave of these super tall buildings, 40 floors and up, is now getting old, and once they age, the safety problems could be huge. Buildings are like people, they have a life cycle and they don't last forever. The older a high-rise gets, the more problems it starts to have. Once a tall building gets old, the elevator is usually the first thing to break down. Then you get water and electricity problems, leaks, damp walls, peeling paint, and these issues just keep getting worse over time. If you live above the 30th floor, things get even scarier. In a case of fire, most cities don't even have fire trucks that can reach that high. And for buildings built in the 1980s or 90s, the living experience wasn't great to begin with. Now it's even worse and more dangerous. The problem is nobody's going to step in and fix these buildings. Once the developer sells all the units, they're done. They don't care anymore. And maintaining an old high-rise is super expensive. You can't even tear the buildings down. It's way too expensive. So what happens when an old tower needs a new elevator or major structural repairs? Someone has to pay, but who? Property management? Their budget is way too small to cover big repairs. Living on the 63rd floor sounds like you're living in the clouds, right? Well, it's more like a nightmare. I listed my apartment back in April 2020 for $580,000. It's now 2025. The price is down to $420,000 and still no buyers. I bought it brand new for $620,000, so I've already lost $200,000, and that's not counting all the interest I paid on the loan. Honestly, buying a unit in a super high-rise is a huge trap. Yes, I'm the unlucky one who bought the top floor unit in a 63-story tower in Liwan District, Guangzhou, New Town, Guangzhou. Now I can't sell it, and I'm too scared to live in it. It's stressing me out. Every day I waste so much time just waiting for the elevator. Sometimes I joke about learning to skydive and keeping a parachute at home, just in case. Thank goodness Guangzhou doesn't get earthquakes, or I'd really have nowhere to run. Living this high up is just nerve-wracking. I pray there's never a fire, because fire trucks can't even reach us. This building is over 200 meters tall. An older resident shared, "I live on a high floor and my biggest fear is a fire. If something really happens, I don't think I can get out. I just have to wait and hope for rescue." One time, I heard there was a fire in the building next door. I was so scared that I broke into a cold sweat. I quickly packed a few important things, ready to escape. But the elevator had already stopped and the stairwell was full of smoke. I couldn't go anywhere. I just had to wait in my apartment and hope someone would come. That was the scariest moment of my life. Another person shared a similar story. He was in the elevator going up, and when it reached the 4th floor, it suddenly stopped. It was so scary. The elevator suddenly shook when I got on the 4th floor, and then the lights went out. Oh my god, I couldn't reach the building management at all. Honestly, after that, I don't even dare to take the elevator anymore. What if one day I get stuck in there and never come out? Before, I could at least call someone for help. Now, no one answers. "Hi, I don't know what's wrong. The elevator shook again on the 4th floor. Yeah. No idea why this keeps happening, but it's really scary, and it's not the first time this elevator has had problems." Also, 4 young guys got stuck in the elevator at 1:30 in the morning and had to wait 25 minutes to be rescued. "Hi, the elevator's stuck on the 2nd floor. The doors won't open and it just shook a little. Please wait a second." "Okay." Let's post this on TikTok. It felt like an earthquake back on the 4th floor. Squat down, protect your head. Next time, we're just taking the stairs. Content creator Da Yin also gave a warning to anyone thinking about buying a high-rise apartment. Don't do it. He lives on the 20th floor. When he first bought the place, he loved the sunlight and the view. But after almost 3 years, he says the longer he lives there, the more problems he finds. First, there's the noise. When I moved in, there was no one living above or below me, but over time, as more people moved in, the noise started to drive me crazy. Kids playing, high heels clicking, it's been a real struggle. I've had to talk to my neighbors about it a lot, and sometimes it gets tense, but in the end, we're all neighbors, so there's not much I can do. Second, the elevator problem. Every morning when everyone's heading to work, I have to wait at least 10 minutes just to get downstairs. Third, the cell phone signal up here is terrible. When I bought the place, I never imagined there would be an issue. But the higher the floor, the worse the signal gets. I have to move around just to make a call. Feels like I'm using a mobile phone for real. Fourth, and probably the most frustrating problem, is the water and heating issues. At night during peak water usage, the water flow is often inconsistent, and sometimes it's barely there. And the heating situation is even worse. I feel like the money I pay for heating is completely wasted. Every winter, I call the complaints hotline, but it doesn't help. They just tell me that as long as it's above 18 degrees Celsius, it counts as meeting the standard. These 2 problems really bother me, especially because I have a child. I'm worried about him catching a cold, so the coldest winter months, I end up using the air conditioner. So, choosing the right floor is definitely something to think about carefully. The 5th thing is that I'm especially afraid of power outages. Guys, have you ever run up to the 20th floor? I tried it once, and that day the power went out just in time for me. I had to climb up all 20 floors, and I was sweating like crazy. As soon as I got home, my wife said, "What's wrong with you? Are you trying to lose weight by pushing yourself?" She said the house makes her feel unsafe. During extreme weather like strong winds or heavy rain, she feels like the whole building is shaking. When there's thunder, it feels like it's happening inside her apartment. Blogger Chen Xiaosu and her husband spent $410,000 on a 60-story high-rise. She says living 200 meters up every day has made her deeply regret the decision. She pointed out that the high-rise buildings have a lot of problems. The biggest issue for her is waiting for the elevator, which can take up to 20 minutes. She planned her work schedule to account for the wait, but if it takes too long, she will end up being late. Every time she's late, the company fines her $14, but her monthly salary is only a few $100s. She feels frustrated. On top of that, the elevators often break down. When that happens or during power outages, she and her husband have to walk up the stairs all the way from the first floor to the 60th.
第二点呢，就是住在这200米的高空啊。
The second point is, living 200 meters up in the air feels really unsafe, and I can't sleep well. The railing is only a little over a meter high, not even as tall as me. When I lean over and look down, it feels super dangerous. And sometimes when the kids are playing here, it feels risky. The railing is part of the building's walkway. I told the property management I'd pay to have it sealed off because it's too dangerous for the kids, but they wouldn't let me. I'm not afraid of heights, but even standing here makes my legs go weak. It feels like I could fall at any moment. It's just not safe. Plus, the railing is exposed to the weather, so over time the screws can't rust, loosen, or even fall off, which makes it even more dangerous.
生锈、脱落、松动，很不安全。
The blogger says that even though living on the 60th floor gives a great view and plenty of sunlight, on windy days the whole building feels like it's shaking, and it's pretty nerve-wracking. The fourth point is, if there's a fire, the fire truck's ladder can only reach about 100 meters, but our place is 200 meters high. That means the firefighters won't be able to reach us. If a fire breaks out, the situation would be really dangerous. Fires can be deadly, and with our height, firefighters won't be able to help. Once the fire starts, it just keeps climbing, which is very worrying.
烧着了还是往上窜的，真是让人头疼。
This blogger lives on the 50th floor, and in the video she talks about what to do in case of a fire. Last night, I spent the whole night reading up on fire safety and decided to create a fire survival guide for high-rise buildings. Since I live on the 50th floor, one of the tallest residential buildings in China, I hope you never need to use this guide. So, what should you do if there's a big fire with thick smoke in a high-rise like mine? First, don't try to escape blindly. Smoke rises, and it's easy to get trapped in the hallway. The first thing you should do is use the back of your hand to feel the door handle to see if the fire is close. If the handle is hot, it means it's too dangerous to leave. At that point, you should find a room farthest from the fire and stay there, waiting for rescue. While you're waiting, you can do a few things to slow the fire from spreading to your room. The first step is to close all windows and doors and use a damp towel to block the cracks around the door. If the door handle isn't hot, check the stairwell for smoke. Normally, if there's no smoke around the door or in the hallway, you can quickly crouch down and escape down the stairs. But for high-rise buildings like mine, you need to be extra careful when going downstairs because fires in tall buildings create a chimney effect. In just 30 seconds, the fire can spread all the way to the top of the 100-meter building. On lower floors, if there's no smoke, you can quickly escape through the safety route. In the past, we thought high-rise buildings were great because of their views, so we rushed into buying them. But the reality is, the higher the floor, the bigger the problems. First, maintenance becomes harder and repair costs increase. Right now, we might not realize how serious this issue is because most high-rise buildings are under 20 years old and haven't shown problems yet. Although many buildings in China are designed to last 50 years, they start to show signs of aging around 25 years. Issues like peeling walls, low water pressure, broken pipes, aging electrical systems, or broken elevators start appearing. Since these buildings are tall, the cost of maintenance is very high, and it can become a bottomless pit. Eventually, the community's maintenance fund won't be enough to cover it. Some people might think if the building gets old, I can just sell it, but they haven't considered that in the future it might be impossible to sell high-rise apartments. Forget about the population decline or the real estate market downturn, just the height of these buildings is enough to make them unsellable. It's not just about fire safety equipment not reaching the top or the large shared spaces making the usable area smaller. The real problem is that when these buildings were first designed, they focused on maximizing the floor area without thinking about the future renovations or upgrades. Once you take over such a property, it might just sit in your hands forever. That's all for today. If you enjoy our content, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with a friend. We appreciate your support, and we'll see you next time.